Humanex Ventures presents Inside the Coaching Mind. Terry Pettit coached the University of Nebraska's first national championship team in 1995 and put the state of Nebraska on a path to volleyball greatness. Now, Terry mentors coaches, writes books, and gives talks about leadership and team building to corporate and business audiences. Here's Coach Pettit to take us inside the coaching mind.
Thank you, David Young, and thank Brad Black and Humanex Ventures, an organization that recruits, develops, and mentors extraordinary talent. And we are going to talk about the extraordinary talent on the Nebraska volleyball roster today. And by we, I mean John Baylor, the voice of the Nebraska Huskers since what, John, 1993?
1994.
1994. And
overlap 6 seasons. I like hanging out with someone with 694 career wins and 21 conference championships. Good company.
Well, John, we're just going to pretend like you and I went out for coffee and told somebody else we were going somewhere else. And we're just talking about what we really think about this coming season. And I listened to you and Lauren on the broadcast of the Husker Volleyball Scrimmage. What an amazing thing. I guess they were sold out, but why didn't they sell those sections that went to the students? That seemed odd to have this building jam-packed and then the student sections empty. What happened there?
I'm not sure. It's not like the students had classes to attend. The school calendar hasn't begun yet, but there are 4 locations in the 4 corners. One of them belongs to the band, the Husker Pep Band, Husker Express, and the other 3 go to actually students were uninhabited. There was nobody there. But otherwise, it was jam-packed. They were packed like they were in the standing room only areas. They were too deep watching a scrimmage between the red and the white. You got to pick a color.
Yeah. Had you been to a Nebraska practice prior to the scrimmage?
I had. It was the Wednesday prior, and Danny Busboom Kelly, a brand new coach, announced to the team, "Hey, we're going to play 4 sets today." And there was this big cheer that went up because she's scrimmaging more often. How often did you scrimmage?
Well, things have changed a little bit in that because of better coaching at the club and high school level, players arrive with more solid fundamentals. So there's probably a higher percentage of practice that is 6-on-6. Having said that, if somebody's arm swing isn't right or their approach isn't correct or the setter training still goes on. So I would say we probably did 40% individual training and 60% 6-on-6. I would guess that most coaches today are probably more situational training, meaning like, okay, we're going to work 6-on-6, but we're going to begin the drill with the setter digging the ball and the libero setting the ball, and we're going to work on our best options there. Give me your overall feeling in watching this scrimmage. What do you think?
It was very difficult for Nebraska's potent attackers to kill the ball. They just kept running into big blocks, back row defenders. So it was tough to assess, okay, is the offense not quite as potent as we thought, or is the defense just more formidable than ever? And you're not really sure. But we saw a little more of that in the red-white where, pin hitters on the right, pin hitters on the left really struggled putting up huge attack percentages. So it was that the other thing that really struck me was just how athletic this group is. I mean, they're tall, they're muscular, they're large, they're physical, they're just athletic in so many ways. I'm not sure I've ever seen a more impressive Nebraska team at the beginning of a season.
Yes. So, I've got the stats here in front of me. Overall, the team, both sides of the net, and they were switching lineups some, hit 189. And, that last year's team probably hit 100 points above that. And certainly Danny's teams hit for a high percentage last year. So that was a little bit surprising. And why do you think, in particular, the pin hitters, the highest pin hitter, I believe, was perhaps Harper Murray at 171. Um, so the strong attacking was all done by three middles. It was done by the two that figure to be starters, Becca Alec and um, last year's
Andy
starter
Jack.
along Andy,
Yeah.
and then a freshman that originally was going to Oregon, Kenna
Mm-hmm.
Kogel.
Bogle.
Yeah, she has 11 kills or 10 kills, two errors, has a slew of blocks, at least 10 blocks, and she looked like an experienced player. Um, but so the middles hit well. They hit above 400. Everybody else was nothing special. Why do you think that takes place?
Well, a year ago, the Huskers were 11th in the nation in attack percentage, 6th in the nation in defense. So, I mean, it's really strength against strength. But um, the middles weren't getting the ball a lot last year. So, for you to identify the middles are really your strength, and they're getting the ball. I think that's an indication of an increased prioritization by the new head coach placed on not just setting the middle, forcing the middle. They have all sorts of drills where they have to set the middle, like, or else you lose the point. And so, no matter where the dig goes, where the pass goes, the head coach wants those setters to be setting the middle, and you're seeing more of that. And these two freshmen are not happy about any sort of conversation about them redshirting because what they showed on the other the other day in the red white was impressive. I mean, Kenna Coco, you'd think she arrived in the middle of summer, and Manaya Obeche arrived in the summer, whereas most of the 13 to 17 players were here in the spring. That they're a step behind. One of them won't redshirt. We need some depth at middle. We've got these elite middles sort of coming back, Rebecca Alec and Annie Jackson. But boy, I'd love to save a year of eligibility with one of them, but they both looked really impressive. I think that Campbell Flynn, the other one of the other great freshmen, there's 6 true freshmen on this team this year. One redshirt freshman, Skylar Pierce. That Campbell Flynn has got great pinpoint accuracy, setting the middle, and I think Bergen Riley's her old self, connecting with those attackers right next to her. So that's why we're seeing strength, I think, in the middle and more of a priority there. But it's a bit of a mystery right now why the pin hitters are struggling. Perhaps again, it's these big blockers and great back row defenders.
Well, I think you've identified it kind of through the back door, and that is if you do emphasize the middle, it means the pin hitters are not getting as many sets against a split block because they're getting the ball when you're out of system. And on this team, and I would say 95% of Division One volleyball teams, that makes a difference. Unless you have somebody that is going to be an Olympian on the left side, somebody that can go up over the block against a two-person strong block, then you beat the block by passing well, digging well in system, and dividing the opponent. Um, and I, and so I think that there's going to be a challenge there. And who are we talking about? Well, Catherine Plummer, who played for Stanford a few years ago, was that type of player. Certainly, the left side on Penn State played that way in the national
Just
championship.
Jess
Yeah,
Merzik.
Jess Merzik was pretty much unstoppable once she got to the late parts of the tournament. The outside hitter on Wisconsin that played
Sarah
professionally,
Franklin.
Sarah Franklin. I'm not sure Nebraska has a pin hitter that
Hmm.
is similar to those. Talk. Let's begin with the two right side players, the lady from Italy and the transfer from Baylor, and give me your impression of those two.
Virginia Adriano is from Turin, Italy, and I'm excited to learn what she thinks of the pizza options in Lincoln, of which there are many. And she's 6'5" with as high a touch point, coach, as Andy Jackson. But your initial assessment's interesting that she's not attacking yet over the block. And then the other is Allie Check. And I thought from a distance at the scrimmage Wednesday, she was not 6'4". And then I saw her up close before the red-white. She's 6'4", and she's a big lefty out of Baylor. So, I mean, both of these players need to be careful walking in through doorways. I mean, they're up there. So they're candidates to attack over the block. But so far, they're not doing that yet.
And why would you guess that's the case?
Probably because we have a big block, for one, that they're facing across the net. But the others are going cross court a lot. And I think right now they're largely, you know, Allie Check, I'm using my left arm, and then Virginia Adriano with her right arm, are going to zone one. And that's putting a downward trajectory on the attack. I mean, you'd think if they went diagonally, they'd get more real estate, so they could attack over potentially and avoid the block. But right, I think largely because we have big left sides, 6'2", 6'3", that they're facing. What do you think?
Well, I'm not there live, but I think that's certainly a case. I think the other thing is the middles were big. These people have been playing against each other, some of them through the summer, so they know each other's tendencies. They know the setter's tendencies. So there were not many split blocks. There was one split block against Virginia, and she hit the ball down inside the 10-foot line. But the other thing is both of them make an approach from wide off the court. When you approach from wide off the court, it is harder to attack the ball down the line. It's harder to attack the left front blocker and use the block. And if you remember some of the great right side players that we've had, like Janet Cruz, Kathy Noth, Nancy Metcalf, all were capable of using that pin blocker. And we didn't see that in the match. Now, whether or not Danny changes their approach, he's not going to change the left-hander's approach. But the right-hander could move inside the sideline, come up the sideline, and then the ball's right there where it's easy to use that blocker. But having said that, I don't know that you can win a national championship without an alpha attacker, left side player, if you aren't getting close to 3 kills a set with your right side player. So that'll be an interesting development. The second thing here is just pure conjecture on my part. John, if you didn't have either of those players, those two players were recruited by, I think, Coach Cook's staff. They saw a need there, and they said, we got to bring in somebody that can set a big block and transition on the right side. But let's go back 20 years where there isn't the portal, where you haven't got 18 scholarships, and you just kept the people you have. Then what's the lineup? Okay, the middles are going to be the same. Let's assume that Bergen is the starting setter. That's the same. One left side is going to be the same, right?
Harper Murray, for sure.
Harper. So the question is, who becomes the right side player? And without ever attending a practice, I think the freshman Terea, is that how you say it? She would make a heck of a right side player.
Why?
Balance. To attack on the right side, you have very little room. You transition off, and basically you're taking a step and a step close. And if you look at the best right side players for Nebraska, they've all been very balanced people. Terea reminds me of Kathy Noth, except that she's bigger, stronger, faster. And
Coach,
and
we
the
had
other
right-handed opposites of late. I just love to see a lefty. You know, Lisa Wright's, a Nancy Metcalf, a Sarah Pavin.
right. Right. But we've had great right-handers too. The difference is this, that for a right-hander to be successful, she either has to, the team either has to ball handle well enough to get the ball in system, or when the setter comes off the net, she has to have the footwork and the explosiveness to go up in the air, turn her hips toward the right sideline, and have the possibility of attacking the ball hard down the sideline to zone 5 or the angle digger. I think Ziegler could do that. So if Ziegler's on the right side, who becomes the other left side?
You got two candidates, Taylor Landfair returning from last year. She's 6'5", and you got Skylar Pierce, who's been described as the most improved player among the 9 that are back from last year's team.
And based on what I've seen and based on what the head coach said last week, it would probably be Pierce. She's been in the gym working. She's more of a 6 rotation player. In some ways, depth, there's a real advantage to not having depth. I don't know that Creighton had a great deal of depth last year. If they lose Norris or their other left side or any one of their middles or their setter, they're not beating Texas, a 2-time national champion. But they were patterned. They're attacking at the back row in every rotation. It's my opinion that for Nebraska to be successful offensively, they have to attack out of the back row in all 6 rotations. And so Virginia certainly showed she has what appears to be a really aggressive, great topspin hybrid serve. And hybrid meaning that there's a little bit of topspin, but she's attacking it at such a high point, it just kind of gets on the passer. So that will be interesting for me to see. Now, you mentioned Taylor Landfair. What role do you see her playing on this team?
Well, she's been impressive offensively. She's put up big numbers in the first 10 days of practice, apparently. She's 6'5", and she's got big hands and a good block. So she's going to compete for playing time, but certainly situationally, maybe a double switch on the right side. Need a big blocker when the setter's moving up there potentially, or as a substitute when one of the other two outsides struggles. Now, she and her family would disagree with that. They think she's probably going to be one of the second outside hitters starting. I mean, that's how competitive it is. But if she's not a starter, she'll certainly, with Danny Busman Kelly substituting more than her predecessor, John Cook, is what we're hearing is going to happen. She'll get her chances as a sub, at least on the outside. What do you think?
Well, if it was baseball, she'd be that reliever who comes out of the bullpen who needs to throw 3 strikes past the opposing pitch hitter, and there's a role for that. So let's say you get in end game, and the other team wants to run a slide, and she's your biggest left side block, or you need a big kill. I would say, from what I've seen in last year's tournament and in this scrimmage, 90% of her attacks are cross court. It's either cross court or tip. And I just don't know that. I think you've got to be more versatile than that.
And I think the set has to be perfect with her. It seems that if the set's off a little bit, then it's here comes a roll shot to extend the rally rather than a big swing. We saw Terea Sigler, early in the red-white match take a Lainey Choboy bump set from behind her and take a big swing and got a kill on it. And for that to be happening before the season begins is impressive. But depth isn't always an asset in this sport. I mean, our 2 most overachieving teams in the last 32 seasons, I would argue, are 2008, 2018. In 2008, I mean, it was Jordan Larson and the Miracles. I mean, we hadn't had anybody on the bench. I mean, Amanda Gates would look over to Coach Cook when Amanda would make a mistake, and Coach Cook would look back and go, we don't have anybody else. You got to stay out there and play through it. Whereas, the prior season, she was getting pulled. And then 2008 was Michaela Fackie. and everyone knew their roles, and everyone, as you would describe, was patterned. As long as you stay healthy, that can be a strength because you only can send 6 out there. We can't send 17 on 17. The Huskers would be the favorite, all season long. You can only send 6, and so yeah, two of the most overachieving teams we ever had were the ones where didn't have a lot of players at all, and everyone knew their roles because of that lack of depth very early in the season.
Well, yeah, and that's going to be interesting. I always thought 14 was about the most that I could handle coaching, but I understand why coaches are erring in this direction. First of all, it's the first time we've ever been able to offer that many scholarships. Secondly, they don't know who's going to leave and go into the portal the next year, so there's some insurance there. But it wouldn't surprise me if Nebraska's roster takes longer to come together than it has in the past, and there's nothing wrong with that. A couple of Coach Cook's teams lost a couple matches early in the season and won a national championship. So it doesn't all have to be there right away, but um, I assume all these people can play. They wouldn't be on the roster if they couldn't. What is there a setter competition, or is it basically Bergen's job and Campbell could be used situationally, or it appeared in the scrimmage that Campbell's right there.
Campbell's team won the first 3 sets. They played a fourth, and Bergen's team won the fourth set. The only player that was on a winning squad all 4 sets was Rebecca Alec, who is just on a mission. I mean, she seems to be I said earlier that Kendall Skylar Pierce is considered the most, by one observer, the most improved player on the team. Rebecca Alec, wow. I mean, she's really motivated and stronger than ever. And we got 2 All-American middles right now with Andy Jackson and Rebecca Alec. But in a normal world, you have the freshman watcher redshirt, and you let the All-American, who has been a 2-time setter of the year in the best volleyball conference in the country, have the job. But Campbell Flynn is so precocious. I mean, she plays like she's 21. The pinpoint placement, nothing phases her. The players seem to be very comfortable, confident around her, and she won 3 out of 4 sets the other night in a split team. So, have you seen coach a setter that mature and skilled upon arrival freshman year?
Bergen Riley.
Yeah. Yeah, number 1 setter recruit in the country last 3 years.
Well, I had a situation with Nikki Stricker and Christy Johnson, and before Christy became the starting setter, and it sometimes the decision is made in a different way. Christy probably located the ball to the pin hitters better than Nikki did, but Nikki set Stephanie Thader better, and Stephanie Thader was our best player. So you have to decide, where do we have to be successful? And on this team, you know, middle is important. It's sexy. It's neat, but matches aren't won there. They're won on the pins. If you look overall, a great middle right now averages at the most about 2.75 to 3 kills a set. But there are left side players Nebraska will play against that are averaging 5 kills a set on Pitt, on Kentucky, on Penn State. So if I'm the head coach at Penn State, and they have a great setter, but if it came down to 2 people, it would be, who sets Kennedy Martin the best? Who sets Kennedy Martin front row, back row? So I think, I'm always about leveraging talent. So who has to score for Nebraska to be successful? I don't think there's any question. You've got the right side has to score, and probably the returning left side, Harper Murray, has to be put in a position to score. Now, whether that's running combination plays like left ins or tandems, or when she's in rotation one, right, a right cross, I don't know the answer to that. And because I'm not in practice, I wouldn't have that feeling. I will say this, Danny, if Danny thinks John Baylor joined the team and was better than somebody there, I don't think she'd hesitate to play you, John. I as we've watched her,
Mhm.
she'll mix it up. She'll switch from a 5-1 to a 6-2 to back to a 5-1.
Yep.
So it's something to watch. But I don't think you can rotate 17 players through most of the year. At some point, somebody needs to know they're the person running the show.
Well, one thing you've identified that I've taken to heart in the first riveting, I think, 25 minutes of this program is that we got to find a six rotation right side who can get at least 3 kills a game and hit at least 260. And it's been a while. And that opens everything up. And
Yeah,
we haven't found it yet. And the red white didn't give us a lot of answers.
yeah, yeah. And you mentioned Taylor Landfair perhaps going over there situationally. I think Jalen was out here. Jalen Ray's the assistant coach. He was out here playing golf a couple weeks ago,
He likes to
and
play golf. He's never seen a golf course. He didn't want to stop it, grab his clubs and try his luck
I
on.
I think his girlfriend lives near here, and so he was playing golf here. And I mentioned I don't think they've ever looked at Taylor on the right side, so it's something I would have been curious about. But um, this is going to be interesting. What I'd like to do is run down the Husker personnel here, and I'd like to begin. You tell me what that person's unique talent is, and I'm going to use kind of a Humanex definition here. Uh, the
They
difference,
know leadership.
well, the difference between talent and skill. So if you're 6'5", that's a talent. I mean, because it's with you every day, and it's with you no matter what you do. Arm speed is a talent. Vision is a talent. Foot speed is a talent. Skills are things that you can teach. So, and it may be that we'll struggle with some of these, but what's Bergen Riley's talent? What does she do well every day, whether it's in practice or in a game?
Um, be reliable. I mean, when her off days are pretty solid. Like you can kind of rely on her putting the ball pretty much where she wants it, where you want it as an attacker, and you don't have to worry about her having crazy off days when she's missing the mark.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I've always thought she was very good on balls coming off the net. Coming off the net 20, 25 feet. Some setters struggle with that play. I've never sensed that was the case with her. Her temperament is a talent. Um,
Absolutely.
Campbell Flynn, and I have no idea because I've never seen her live. What's her talent?
Temperament is a talent. Her size is a talent. I mean, she's a very sizable setter and physical. And another talent of hers, she was born left-handed, so that gives her an advantage as a setter.
You're right, because if you're left-handed, you can attack the second ball if necessary. It's maybe not the most important talent, but it's certainly important. It also, and I may be dreaming this, but it looks to me like she takes the ball fairly high above her forehead, maybe higher than other Husker setters. There's an advantage to that. The advantage is when you take that ball up that high, you're primarily using your wrist. And it's a little bit more deceiving to the block because the block can't tell whether you're going forward or backward. I also think it's a little easier maybe to connect with the middle when you take the ball higher. Blocking wise, I think Bergen's probably a good blocker, but do you think Campbell's an exceptional blocker?
She's 6'3", and she's wide shouldered and muscular. I would think that high setting style would also hasten the offense as well.
Yeah,
I think they're definitely running faster offense. I mean, Danny's Busman Kelly's downplaying that and saying it might appear a little bit faster. I think part of it's because they're going to the middle more, but I think even the outside sets are just happening really quickly.
yeah. Becca Alec. Um, if somebody had to say to me, I've heard other people say, well, so and so's the best player on the team, so and so's the best middle blocker. It's called middle blocker. It's not called middle attacker. And because your defense is built around a consistent middle block. She's always been an exceptional blocker. She's developed and trained to become a great attacker. But what's her talent? What does she bring every day?
Tenacity.
Yes.
There's never an opponent's attack that will go unchallenged if Rebecca Alec is on the other side of the net.
Yeah. She's kind of like a middle linebacker. You
Mm.
know, she takes it personal.
The head coach was saying in the fourth set when everyone's tired, I mean, these were long sets. So I know they announced 4 sets, but the first 3 were deuce game, and then a 3-point game, but they were marathons. I'm thinking, why don't we kind of call this thing? It's gone pretty well. No, they went out for a fourth in the middle of the game. Everyone was a little tuckered, except for Rebecca. She was, according to the head coach, she was the only one yelling out there on the team every single play. Who's got it? And yeah, she's tenacious. The energy she brings is infectious. It's terrific.
Okay. How about the other starting middle, Andy Jackson? What's her talent?
Uh, Generational athlete explosiveness.
Mhm. And particularly explosive off one foot, but
Mm,
also an explosive arm swing.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, John, have you ever seen her hit a high ball or a two ball?
Not really. It's a slide. And then not really.
Yeah.
Uh, you say you're suggesting just put it up there and let her go get it.
Well, not as the primary offense,
Yeah,
but the slide generates arm speed because of the hip rotation. The hips are facing the sideline when the attacker leaves the ground and rotates the hip, the arm whips. But when you approach straight on, the attacker has to do that. Your hips are already at a 45-degree angle. But if you have a middle that every now and then you can throw a two ball in, it mixes it up. It startles the opponent, or because the wings aren't ready for it, and so they don't get in there for the double block. But she does, she certainly is explosive in everything that she does. What area does she have to improve in?
Andy Jackson,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, I hesitate to say she's returning first team All American. She had 427 last year. Probably blocking. Her blocking numbers could probably be higher given her leaping ability. Maybe she's just so explosive, and blocking requires a little more sort of uh, calm, thoughtful. What do you think? I mean, she's a fine blocker, but she's doesn't put up the numbers historically that Rebecca does, for example.
I think Rebecca was at 1.5 per set, but Andy is also blocking with the setter in an extra rotation. So
Mm.
so Becca is in two rotations with the right side block, which is a big block. Andy's with the right side block in one. I would need to see her individually to have any sense for that, but um, I would anticipate that entering her third year, she will be a stronger stronger blocker. It appears two players are competing for the Libero spot, and I don't know that they could be any different in terms of their talent. Olivia Mock and Lainey Choboy. Talk about what you think their talents are, and if John Baylor was the coach, uh, who's the Libero and who's the DS?
I'd start with Lainey Choboy as my libero because she's so loud and energetic and athletic. But if her passing falters, I would not hesitate in the next set to switch them because Olivia is so calm and a little quieter, but so deft at passing, reliable at passing. They are a study in contrast. And but you don't want to use them both in the libero spot, one for receiving serve and one for stopping the other side from siding out, because then you don't have either one available as a DS. So Laney's the junior, Olivia's the sophomore. That's another edge I'd give. She has sacrificed a lot. She knew when she came here she was going to sit for 2 years behind Lexi. I think you owe it to her at the beginning of the season to give her a shot to earn that job full time as libero.
Mm-hmm. Passing numbers last year, where did they compare with Lexi?
Um, I think they were pretty close. I think it's pretty. I'd be very surprised. I don't look at those as closely as I should, but I'd be surprised if Olivia was very far behind Lexi. Olivia's a great passer. You saw them. You saw both of them last year, and you saw them in the red white. What do you think?
Well, I think there were times during the season where Olivia's numbers were the highest on the team, passing. The other thing that enters in here, and I don't know the answer to this, you have three back row passing positions. And sometimes the most difficult position to pass in is right back. Because most players are comfortable, most right-handed players are comfortable drop stepping with their left foot. But if that ball is served to their right, it's an unusual person who's equally good at that. And so sometimes if that person strays off the line a little bit, a coach will signal to the server, put that ball in there, and you'll see them not drop step well. And I don't have any idea which one is better. It may depend on whether or not coach decides to use the DS for a right side player or the second left side player. In any case, I think two of the three pin hitters have to be able to attack out of the back row. And if they were to start tomorrow, my guess is that the DS is going to come in for the right side player. Maybe if that right side player is Virginia, you let her serve because her serve is so strong. If there's one thing that I think Nebraska can improve a lot in, the most intimidating fundamental is not attack, it's serve. That attack, the play's over quickly, you move over, and that they may not be able to pass and do it again. But if somebody serves tough and you get aced, that's when a team starts to mentally break down.
Virginia Adriano's serve in the red-white match was as much a weapon a Husker player has had in years. I don't remember someone on our team. I've seen a player on SMU. I've certainly seen Micah Hancock. By every 5 or 6 opponents, like, oh, that player's got a serve that can really give us trouble. She gave the Huskers trouble. And remember, they've been passing her for 10 days. Whereas others don't have that much preparation.
John, I've shared this on other podcasts. Washington, when they played for the national championship in Seattle, subbed their setter out because her serve wasn't as strong as other players. That's how much Jimmy Mack valued serving. And it's just another way when you're having trouble scoring points. I mean, it's about getting the other team to break, either physically or mentally. And if you are not, near the top of your conference in assertiveness with the serve, then I think it's hard to compete for a championship. And if you look at the teams, Texas, outserved everybody the 2 years they won the national championship. So let's move on to the left side options. Harper Murray is a great player. Why would someone like Harper? Why were her statistics maybe not where we thought they'd be in that scrimmage?
It was one match. They know her tendencies. They've been playing against her for 2 years. Um, I don't know if we want to take too much from that single match, but she hit the highest of any of the pin hitters that got in there, and she was under 200. So everybody on the wings struggled offensively in that red white match.
Yeah, I and I'm 500 miles away. It looked to me like she's a different person. She's this is a somebody who wants to lead. I thought she was just trying too hard. Sometimes you want it so bad that, and when you try too hard, you can feel a tenseness in your upper body, your muscles, the arm slows down.
Like
But
golf, you got to be loose. You got to stay loose.
well, I don't think she's going to be an issue. But what do you like about Terea Sigler?
What's there not to like about her? Boy, does she look mature, steady. I think of all the pin hitters, she and Harper are your best candidates now for all the way around. I haven't seen a lot of Virginia Adriano from Italy. Let's hope she has the capacity to play 6 rotations. Although as a right side in the back row, you could hide her potentially as a passer. But I mean, right now it looks like Terea might be ready for prime time in the back row. And Harper has had her challenges passing at moments in her career. And for Harper to lead, we really need her out there for 6 rotations, which means she's got to be a reliable passer. She does everything else really well, and she's often a solid passer. But Terea Sigler, wow. I mean, she looks 22, and she just started as a freshman. I'm not sure she can find Love Library right now on a campus map. And she looks very comfortable out there.
Well, we haven't mentioned Ryan Hunter, who is left-handed and is also a candidate for play on the right side. How tall is she?
They list her at 6'2", and she looks a little shorter than the others, but she's 6'2". The others are 6'4" and 6'5" at the right side. But she had a fabulous match in the spring against Kansas, and she's a true freshman. She's about a year away from an ACL tear she had. She looks fully recovered, but she might be a candidate to redshirt. When you got 17 players, hopefully a few of them might be open to redshirting, and all you're doing is trading your youngest year for your oldest year, which means presumably you're trading your worst year for your best. So I know it's old-fashioned to recommend redshirting, but I hope there's still a place for it in the sport. By the way, for anyone listening who's 18 or so, don't rush adulthood. All right, college is pretty sweet. So if they give you another year in the old days it was free, but now paid. Give it some thought. There's no rush to go play in France. You can hang out for one extra fall in Lincoln.
John, were you surprised Nebraska was voted #1 in the AVCA Coaches Bowl?
Over Penn State, a little bit. Over Texas, a little bit. I mean, Tori Stafford, she's averaging 4 kills a set. A year ago for Pittsburgh when they had another featured player, we got 5 kills a set almost. Olivia Babcock, she can hit over blockers. They've got no more setter controversy now. They're turning the reins over to their now junior who led them to a national championship as a freshman. They always have huge middles who always wish they got the ball a little bit longer, a little bit more often. They're recruiting all these fabulous liberos and defensive specialists now from other teams, so that's no longer an issue. Yeah, I'm a little surprised, but when you look at the 6 freshmen coming in for Nebraska, you look at the 3 All-Americans coming back. No other team in the country has 3 All-Americans coming back. It's not a huge surprise.
A team that I think is sneaky good is your alma mater, Stanford University, and we're going to get a chance to see them very early in the season. We're going to get to see them on, I believe it's Sunday, August 24th, 3:30 at the Pinnacle Bank Arena. They have in my opinion, the three best returning pin hitters. That doesn't mean that those three pin hitters are all the best at their position, but three really good pin hitters, all hitting 290 and above. And the other good thing for Stanford is they won't be fatigued by having traveled 100,000 miles on
Yeah.
August 23rd.
One recruiting perk that Kevin Hambley should promise is you get to keep all your frequent flyer miles. That alone is going to differentiate you and help you get those elite athletes. And now
Well,
then I can give it to them.
well, John, I think he's got another thing he can sell, and I think Creighton should sell this. If I was coaching today, I would say, look, we want you here 4 years. We're not
Mhm.
looking to the, we're going to develop you. And you came here because of this culture, this education. We're going to support you. So we're going to be the outlier, and I think Stanford can turn what seems like a disadvantage into an advantage.
Yeah, I thought, we may have seen their best days, 9 national championships, and now Penn State on their heels with 8, Nebraska's third with 5. And they only transfers they typically can get are graduate students. They had a middle from UCLA who effectively walked on as a graduate student. And Stanford has all these one-year master's programs, so it makes it very easy academically, as long as you're able to get in academically and can kill a volleyball for that to work. But you're right. I don't think they can academically take a lot of sophomores or juniors or seniors. So that's very old fashioned. And so you're playing against teams like SMU that are full of 21 and 22 and 23-year-olds, and your average age is probably 19.4. That makes it difficult. But you're right. That can be a selling point. Not only the diploma, but the fact that we won't necessarily go to the portal and recruit over you when you're halfway through your career.
Well, they return those three pin hitters. All of them are capable of being All-Americans. The top one would be Elia Rubin, who's this will be her 4th year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Starting elegant player, can hit any shot. Jordan Hervey on the right side. They have a girl from Turkey that's a lady from Turkey who's the other
Yep.
outside,
Off.
Kurt, and they're good. And they lost a great setter in Cami Minor, daughter of Harold Minor, and who who at one time set the Devaney scoring record,
Yeah.
which prompted
Yeah.
another story that I won't share here. But and
I know that.
she was a wonderful player. But the lady that's replacing her has played in all the U19 teams for the USA. She's already been at Stanford. She's a great player. So they also returned one of the middles. I think Stanford. I think Stanford. If they don't get travel fatigue, they would be my bet to win the ACC.
Well, it's time. I mean, they have not been to a Final Four since 2019, and that's a long stretch for Stan. Cami Minor never got to one. So they have two great outsides. You mentioned them. They've got a great right side. They always have solid middles. They've got a young setter, unproven at this level, but proven when she was younger. They always have a great libero, someone from Orange County or maybe as far north as Santa Barbara. They should have all the ingredients to get back where they really belong, and that is the Final Four. So I just can't imagine Cami Minor did not get to a Final Four. It was an odd time, COVID and everything, and you're playing against a lot of teams with 5th-year and 6th-year players. And again, they're doing it with the old formula, which makes it harder.
Well, everybody's kind of overlooking Pitt too, and I think they're overlooking him because Torrey Stafford transferred to Texas. This is the only time we're going to complain about the portal, but I don't get it. I mean, we we heard Dan Fisher talk many times about Stafford being just as good a player as Olivia Babcock, and Babcock was National Player of the Year, averages over 5 kills a game. I think Babcock had something like 60 some service aces. She's a great block, good defensive player. They lose their setter, Fairchild. Is
Rachel
that
Fairbanks. Yeah.
Rachel Fairbanks? But I don't see any way that Dan's going away. And that'll be very interesting because that's Nebraska's first match. And obviously, you have to prepare for Olivia Babcock. But, they have some transfers in. The setter that's likely to be starting was a 3-year starter at Illinois. So I wouldn't look past that match. And then another match that Nebraska has in the pre-conference season is against Craig Skinner's Kentucky, who has the best combination of left side players in the country.
I mean, Brooklyn DeLay, Topeka, Kansas is your returning SEC Player of the Year for Kentucky. A year ago, 4.9 kills a set on the outside, so everyone knew she was a swinging all game long. Hit 294, and then Eva Hudson, wants to make sure she gets in on the act, so she transfers from Purdue, and there she averaged 4.8 kills a set and hit 287. I'm not sure anyone else is going to get the ball, but those two together are formidable. They're going to go 6 rotations. Craig Skinner's not resting on his 2020 national championship laurels. I mean, he's back.
Well, they also won 8 consecutive SEC titles, and
Wow.
Texas was in the SEC last year. But when you have 2 left sides like that, physical left sides, if the other players are just average, you're going to be in every match. You have a
Mhm.
chance to compete for every match, and they won't be average. He has talent there. So,
How great a setter does he have, though? That's the issue.
well, that's the player from Illinois. That's the
Okay.
player. And so, John, you would know that better than I. You saw Illinois play.
Now hold everything. You're talking about Brooke Mosher. She's going to be at Pittsburgh. So at Kentucky, I mean, they don't have. They've got a true freshman. They got two setters. One is a true freshman from Katy, Texas, 6'1", Cassie O'Brien, very celebrated as a high school player. But then their redshirt sophomore is Ava Sarafa. She played a little bit in the past, but that's a question mark. Is who's going to play setter for Kentucky?
Yeah, Emma Grom, I believe, was from Omaha, wasn't she?
She wasn't from Omaha, but she was a heck of a player. Undersized, but boy, she was fun to watch.
Yeah. So, I think there's some challenges there. I think also in the preseason, Nebraska plays Creighton. Uh, I think Creighton's going to be very good for a couple of reasons. But you tell me
How?
why.
They've lost so many. They lost their head coach, who is one of the best in the business. She told me once that, anyway, she had this great mentor. And for the first few years of her career, she basically did whatever he said. Anyway, Kirsten Bernthal Booth is a huge lot. I know she's going to be back at some point somewhere. She's so young and a fabulous coach, but that's a loss. And then Nora Sis and their fabulous setter. It's going to be tough to replace that loss. But they've got some good talent coming back.
Well, yeah, I think it's better than good. Ava Martin, statistically, was their best pin hitter, and she's back. Their right side player, Johnson, will either be in the right side or middle. She's going to be a star. Okay. Their setter came from Cal. She didn't play last year because I think she tore her Achilles early in the season for Cal. She's an all level player. They also return the other middle, Kiara. I can't think of her last name, but she really developed as an offensive threat. They've got Simpson, who was at the time their top recruit ever. Their culture stays the same. The assistant coach is becoming the head coach.
Yeah.
I remember in 96, we lost 5 starters, and then Denise Kozel tears her ACL, and somebody else tears an ACL.
Ken
We go out,
McFadden.
yeah, we go out there with Lisa Reitzman. We're playing in the Final Four again. And people are saying, well, how does this happen? It's because of the culture. It's because these are the expectations. Creighton is going to be very good. And if anybody looks past them, they're going to get beat. That's my prediction.
I got to add 1996 to my list of most overachieving Husker volleyball teams. 96, 2008, 2018. Jen McFadden goes down. Denise Kozel goes down. We got, there was a big loss early in the year. And at the end of 96, Nebraska's the second best team in the country behind Stanford.
Well, we graduated Weston and Christy Johnson and Billy Winston. Yeah. And this will be good news to Husker fans. I talked with Billy the other day, and she had her final surgery. And some of you may know that she was battling several things, and the surgery was good. And I think she'll be at the reunion, the 95 reunion in September, along with Allie Weston. Christy won't be there because she's coaching Iowa State, and Fiona won't be there because she's coaching the Ohio State.
Nice.
A lot of good things coming up, and I think Nebraska has a lot to look forward to. And I'll be eager to see how it goes, and John will be eager to listen to you.
Thank you. I think you're a very savvy broadcast media consumer, but I also want to say this is coaching 101. You never want to peak in early August.
Well, we also haven't mentioned we're going to leave Penn State for the conference season, but they were voted number 2, and they probably got the most dominant player in college volleyball. We'll see in Kennedy Martin, right side player from Florida.
Caroline Jervis moves over to her natural position on the left side. Izzy Starks, the top set, she's one of the top setters in the country. They're loaded. Maggie Mendelson in the middle. They got Jillian Grimes as Libero. Yeah, and they beat Nebraska twice last year. Trust me, they noticed the preseason rankings for the Big Ten and for the ABCA.
Yeah. Well, John, you're wonderful. I really appreciate you being on as a guest, and I'm sure we'll have you on throughout the season to get your insights into it. And we also want to thank Brad Black. If Humanex didn't sponsor us, we wouldn't be doing this. Want to thank David Young, our producer, and we'll see folks probably pretty soon here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Inside the Coaching Mind is presented by Humanex Ventures and is pleased to be a part of the Learfield Varsity Podcast Network. If you're on Facebook, look for the Inside the Coaching Mind group and join a vibrant discussion of volleyball and leadership. TerryPettit.com is where you'll find Terry's books, writings, and downloads, as well as subscription links for all your podcast apps.